You're listening to the Voice of Your Brand podcast. In today's episode, we are talking all about how to attract a bigger audience and more sales in just 6 seconds. That's coming up next. Ready to go behind the scenes and learn what it really takes to stand out as the voice of your brand? I'm Catherine Beck, voice actor and voice coach. And after 20 years of being the voice of other brands, I'm here to show you how your voice is your most powerful tool to creating the impact, influence, and income you desire. The world is your global stage, so get ready to up-level your voice and your personal brand. This is the Voice of Your Brand podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to let you know that the doors are opening soon to launch your voice. This is my signature voice program that will show you how to become and be known as a visionary in your niche. A visionary voice in your niche. And that, of course, is all through the power of your voice. And if you want to be the first to know when those doors are opening, be sure to jump on my waitlist. That's catherinebeck.com/LYV-waitlist. I will be sure to pop that in the show notes so you can just click on that link, get yourself on the waitlist, and be notified as soon as the doors open. Since the last time I've opened, I've had some really exciting things happening with some of my clients. One of my clients won $20,000 from a 3-minute talk. That's the power of voice. That's the power of knowing how to use your most powerful tool that is already within you. And when you can master your voice and know how to create an authentic and emotional connection with your audience in a variety of different ways. That's the most incredible thing about voice. When you can have a voice transformation, it's not only going to affect one area of your life, like your business, it's also going to affect other parts of your life as well. And there's that beautiful thing that happens. There's that ripple effect of when you can create an impact with others, that's then going to create an impact in the people that they impact as well. That's why I love voice. And that's why I'm so passionate to work with those that know that they have a powerful message. If you are out there and you know that you have a powerful message, if you know that you've been standing on the sidelines, you've got something to say, but you've been holding back. No longer are we going to hold back. I am going to be there to champion you, to be your biggest cheerleader, to guide you in knowing how to show up, stand out, and utilize your voice. So make sure you jump on my waitlist and let's make you the next visionary voice in your niche. And now before we get into how to hook your audience in just 6 seconds, I wanted to share with you a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the private podcast or secret podcast. And since then, I've been doing some research over the weekend. I've been listening to a variety of different private podcasts that are out there and being delivered in different formats, different ways, adding different components. It's been so interesting to see how this trend is now starting to pop and the different ways that people are utilizing the private podcast. And I gained some really interesting insights from listening to so many in a very short period of time. What works, what doesn't work, the do's, the don'ts. And I thought that might be interesting for you, a part 2 on the private podcast to share with you some of the things that I learned seem to be working in through the power of voice. So how is it going to resonate with your audience? What is attracting them through the podcast? Those that have worked with me, that I have a very in-tuned ear. Oftentimes people will come to work with me because I can hear the subtext, the sublayers, the underlayers, the thoughts, the feelings that are inevitably you are thinking and feeling is being projected out to your audience. So I can tell if somebody is going to be turned off by your voice, the delivery of your message, or attracted. And I can help you become more attractive, hence what we're talking about in today's episode. So that was one of the key factors. That was one of the things that I was listening out to in the private podcast is how well were these podcasters, personal brands, online business owners, the people that were behind the private podcast, how well were they keeping my attention? So if this is of interest to you, let me know. Drop me a DM on Instagram. It's at Catherine_Beck_ and let me know, because I'm thinking about doing a part 2, the do's and don'ts of the private podcast. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you're thinking about starting a private podcast of your own, DM me and let me know. All right, let's talk about how to attract a bigger audience and more sales in just 6 seconds. Now you might be thinking, how is that possible? And why is 6 seconds? That's so random. Well, actually, it's not. And it's actually 6 seconds has been around since 2016. So many of you know that I am a voiceover actor. I get hired to be the voice of big brands. And we're actually seeing more and more now this interest from these big brands to record 6-second ads for things like TikTok and YouTube. And so when I was doing my research about today's podcast, I discovered that 6 seconds, this idea of a 6-second ad, is actually not new. It's been around since 2016, but it's more prevalent now with the popularity of TikTok. And so this is really interesting. You know, the times that we're living in now with short form content, the things like TikTok and Instagram Reels, Snapchat, YouTube Shorts, short form content is getting shorter and shorter. That doesn't mean that people aren't craving long form content. They're still watching long form content, but our attention spans are getting so much shorter. So it makes sense that a 6-second ad would become on the rise now of becoming more popular. And that's because consumer behavior is changing. And so it matches what we're seeing with the short form content with the consumer behavior is these shorter form ads are resonating more than the longer ads. So what used to be a short ad was 15 seconds. Now that's considered long. So in the past, we had a 15-second ad, a 30-second, and a 1 minute. And the 30-second was like the average. You wouldn't always get a 1 minute ad. That's quite lengthy, right? But the 30-second was like your standard, and the 15 was like a cut down of the 30, a shortened ad. And now we're down to 6 seconds. And there was a study that was done about this. And some of the findings was now the 15-second ads are starting to feel intrusive for viewers. Intrusive, like we're intruding their videos. So the 6-second ad is the new 30-second ad. And when I see those on TikTok, I will actually watch for 6 seconds before I flick. You know, I will watch that full 6-second ad. So it makes sense. But what that does is it forces brands to be creative and to tell a story within just 6 seconds. That tells me as a personal brand that we can actually simplify our messaging, simplify the words that we say, and we can actually create a massive impact in just a few seconds. So the question becomes, what can we as a personal brand learn from this? How can we as personal brands use this to our advantage? How can we tell a story that attracts the viewer or the listener in 6 seconds? And how can you then go from problem to solution in 6 seconds? A beginning, middle, and end. One sentence is basically what you got. You got one sentence to tell a story, to go from problem to solution, from beginning, middle, and end. And that coincides with the hook. You know, hooking your audience in, hooking them to want to listen for more. Again, that's just 6 seconds. And I can tell you, I've seen this firsthand, and I'll give you a variety of different examples. One example is actors. When I get sent a self-tape audition before somebody's about to submit it, and they might say, which take do you think is better? Or, you know, does this seem worthy enough to get a callback or, you know, get to that next stage? I'll watch and I'll review, and I can tell in just those first few seconds, those 6 seconds, whether or not they'll get a callback. Sometimes I'm working with someone who's an online course creator or online business owner, and they've got a webinar, and I'm reviewing it with them. And I can tell you in those first few seconds, those 6 seconds, if they are going to attract their audience to want to stay on the webinar, to stay to the end, right? So in a webinar, oftentimes you're tracking like how long do they stay on the webinar? Do they drop off or do they stay to the end? Do they stay to the offer, to the pitch? And if they stay to the offer, to the pitch, are they converting? Are you going to get a standard conversion or a high conversion? You know, how many sales are you going to get on that webinar? I can see that. I can hear it in your voice in those first few seconds. It could be, for example, listening to all these different private podcasts over the weekend. I listened to all of them, but I didn't listen to all of the episodes for all of them. There was one in particular that I put on the first episode, and I kid you not, I was ready to turn it off by easy 15, 30 seconds in. I stayed for a minute because I was doing research and I so badly wanted to listen to all the episodes of all the private podcasts I was listening to, but I just could not do it. And I found that very interesting. And I think my guess is that that person, they're doing a launch for a program. I'd be very curious to know what their conversion is, how many they sell versus, let's say, if they had done a different type, different style of launch that, let's say, was visual where you could see them, not hear them. I'd be really curious to see what the difference is. So the voice does not lie. And I want you to think of it like this. It is the vocal manifestation of your internal thoughts and feelings. And for the first 6 seconds, that is where your audience is placing judgment. They're placing judgment on whether or not they believe you, they connect with you, they know you, they like you, and trust you. And I don't say all of this to be harsh and say they're placing judgment on you, anything like that. I say this because they can sense things. They may not be aware that they're sensing something, but they're sensing things. They can sense authenticity. And they can sense a true connection, or they can sense if you are closed off, if you're holding back, if you've put up some sort of invisible barrier between you and them. So when you can be authentic and when you can truly connect and layer on top of that, display that you are an authority on the subject matter, that's golden. That is when you start to see this attraction happen where people are drawn to you and want to work with you. And here's the thing. So within the first 6 seconds, this whole concept of the first 6 seconds, it's really simple, but it's also really hard to do. Often the simplest things can be the hardest things to do. Why is that? Could be because you made it about you. And here's the thing. Nobody wants to hear about you. That's not why they showed up. They show up for a few different reasons. Maybe they want to be entertained. Or they want to forget about the troubles of their day. Or they've got a problem that needs to be solved, and you potentially could be the one that helps them solve it. So they want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to be seen. They want to see themselves in you, in your story. And if they can't, they're going to move on to the next thing. And here's the kicker, is that there's actually preparation that happens before the first 6 seconds. We actually have to start before we even press record or get on stage or go live. Because if we don't prepare prior to the first 6 seconds, we're actually going to lose them automatically in those first 6 seconds, meaning you need to be ready for the moment before. Because the moment before is what sets you up for the first 6 seconds, for a moment of greatness. Now, if you're an actor listening to this, chances are you know what I'm talking about, that moment before. It's something that we learn in acting. It's so powerful and so important, is to create the moment before. And if you're a non-actor, this is one of the powerful things that I teach inside of my program, is the moment before. It's that preparation leading up to talking, leading up to showing up before you speak. It's the energy, it's the presence that you bring in those first few seconds. It happens in the moment before. So how you show up before you speak becomes just as important as those first 6 seconds when you speak, and is what will truly lead you toward success. So the moment before, really owning those first 6 seconds and showing up as an authority, speaking with authenticity, and truly connecting to your audience, that, my friend, is how to attract a bigger audience and more sales. And if you are listening to this and you are ready to learn exactly how to do this, how to start becoming the known visionary voice in your niche, then jump on my waitlist and let's make this happen. Head over to katherinebeck.com/LYV-waitlist. I know it's a mouthful, so I'll pop it in the show notes, and I look forward to seeing you when the doors open. Thank you so much for tuning in today on the Voice of Your Brand podcast, and I'll see you back here next time.